Hi, boys and girls. Today we're going to continue with Who's Stealing the 12 Days of Christmas by Martha Freeman. Chapter 7. Finally, the goose and the partridge. Saturday, Friday, the goose and the partridge. Saturday, a calling bird. Sunday morning, a French hen. Someone was stealing the 12 days of Christmas. But who and why? I had just finished my Sunday breakfast, a bagel with cream cheese. Mom and I were sitting at the kitchen table. Luau was in my lap, purring like he was proud of himself. He was the one who'd noticed the missing French hen at the Swansons that morning. He was starting to think that he was some kind of ace detective. I was happy to leave the bird watching to Luau. I had a bigger problem. Russell's mouse party. It was supposed to start at 1, but now it might not even happen. That's because Mega Menagerie, where the party was supposed to be, had been burglarized. Someone had broken in between Thursday night and Friday morning. They stole money out of the cash register. They stole every single mouse in the store. Was it possible to have a mouse party with no mice? In case you haven't guessed it, it was the Mega Menagerie robbery that kept Mom busy late Friday. She had worked yesterday too, looking all over the store for evidence, like fingerprints or anything that the bad guy might have left. Boy, was Mrs. Miggins mad when I made her close her store on the Saturday before Christmas, Mom said. Doesn't she want you to find the criminal? Oh, probably, Mom said, but she might not think it was so important. Insurance pays her either way. I've heard of insurance, I said, but I don't really get it. Mom explained that most people pay money to an insurance company every month in case there is a disaster like a robbery or a fire. Usually nothing happens, so the company gets to keep the money. That's how it makes a profit. But if something does happen, the company has to pay. So insurance will buy Mrs. Miggins new mice, I said. Right, said Mom. I thought for a minute. But it seems like there's a problem. For the insurance company, I mean. What's that? Mom said. What if somebody got tired of paying them? What if somebody pretended there had been a burglary so that they could get a lot of money or a lot of mice? Mom reached over and messed up my hair. You must be my kid, she said, because you are so darn smart. What you're describing is called an insurance scam. Somebody fakes a robbery to collect the insurance money. But insurance companies are pretty careful, and so are the police. We try hard to make sure nobody gets away with it. There was a newspaper on the table between Mom and me. The headline said, "Police are baffled." Baffled means really confused. I looked at my mom. Are you baffled? Mom sipped from her mug of coffee. So far, she admitted, but we'll figure it out. Right now, what's hanging me up is motive. Why would anybody want those mice? I couldn't believe she had said that. Are you kidding? Every kid in America wants mice. Mom smiled. I know you like them, honey, but it wasn't a kid kind of job. What do you mean? I asked. When kids break in, they make a mess. Later, they brag to everyone they know. Eventually, you can pretty much count on someone calling to tip us off. Are you saying kids are stupid? I asked. Mom shook her head. Not stupid, but not professional thieves either. So this was a professional job, I asked. I don't know if it was or not, but it was clean. The thieves got in, grabbed what they wanted, and got out, she said. In fact, it was pretty remarkable. The door wasn't even damaged. Sounds baffling, I said. What about the birds, though? Any luck with that? Not my problem, thank goodness, Mom said. Mega Menagerie's a lot bigger deal, so I handed the birds off to Fred Krikles. But he's not a detective, I said. You're the detective. Fred's a fine patrol officer and perfectly capable of looking into a kid prank. When Mom said kid, I laser stared her the way she laser stares me when she's mad. But it didn't work. She grinned. I'm not dissing kids, she said. Just some kids. The ones who have nothing better to do than snatch birds from Christmas displays. She looked into her coffee mug. Empty. Guess it's time to put on my face and go to work. On Sunday, I said. She shrugged. If the bad guys work, then I do too. Mom stood up and stretched. Then she started upstairs to put on her face. That meant lipstick and black eye goop. One time I asked her how come she needed that stuff to be a cop. Isn't it awfully girly, I said. I mean, the bad guys won't think you're tough. Mom had laughed. I like to think that I'm girly and tough, she said. Now Mom called back to me. You have chores to do, don't forget. Like I could forget. Since we don't have house cleaners anymore, I do about a zillion chores. Arguing that I'm too young for slavery has not done any good. I shifted my knees and told Luau his bed was going bye-bye. He dug in his claws and meowed. That meant I don't recall giving my cushion permission to move. I scratched him under his chin and behind his ears. Good kitty, I said. Smart kitty. Brave kitty. Not to mention brilliant detective kitty. Luau said Murph, which meant how right you are. Then he jumped to the floor. I got up and cleared the table. Milk dribbled from a cereal bowl. Luau and I cleaned up. Me with my sponge, him with his tongue. The phone rang. I grabbed it. Russell? It's on, he said, at Mega Menagerie. Great, I said. Hey, but what about the mice? Mrs. Miggins told Mom she's getting an emergency shipment. When I hung up, I was grinning. This was great and amazing news. I went back to loading the dishwasher. One thing I've discovered about most chores, you don't need your brain to do them. You can think about whatever you want. So I was thinking how it was surprising that Mrs. Miggins had arranged to get new mice delivered so fast, especially this close to Christmas. And I was thinking something else too, how I really like peppermint ice cream cake. Chapter 8. With his tail wagging and his mouth drooling, Leo G greeted me and Dad at the door to Mega Menagerie. Leo G is a St. Bernard dog named after a dead movie star. You have to be careful of him. He doesn't bite, but his slobber is pretty much magnetized to people. Come too close, and instantly you're coated with foamy, white dog spit. Dad backed away, saying, good dog, but he didn't back far enough. Delighted to see us, Leo G shook his enormous head, and slobber flew all over Dad's pants. I laughed until I'd noticed he'd gotten me too. Heek. Dad and I did our best to wipe off as we walked back into the party room. When we got there, I was surprised at how normal it looked. Mice on the shelves, mouse balloons, crepe paper, cake, and the best part, the Mega Menagerie mouse battlefield. Welcome, Mrs. Miggins said. I know you've been to mouse parties before, Alex. You're familiar with the rules, right? I nodded. During the party, we would be allowed to take mice down for the war, but in the end, we had to put them back, or else our parents could buy them. If somebody damaged one, like he yanked off the tag, Mrs. Miggins made sure his parents bought it. Dad reached out to shake Mrs. Miggins' hand, but then he must have remembered the slobber because he pulled his hand back. Sorry, he said. How are you? The store sure looks great. I can't believe you've had a robbery so recently. You'd better believe we had a burglary, Mrs. Miggins answered, and it hasn't been easy either. First, the dreadful shock, then the frantic phone calls trying to find mice, the cleanup, and at this time of year, too, I've worked my fingers to the bone. She flashed her fingers, I guess to show their boniness, but what I noticed were her 3 big diamond rings. Selling toys must be a pretty good business. It's funny about Mrs. Miggins. She owned a toy store, but as far as I can tell, she hates kids. It's like we make her anxious because we might mess up her displays. Dad says, in his opinion, Mrs. Miggins doesn't like grown-ups so much either. What she does like is St. Bernards, especially Leo G. He stays at the store overnight like he's some kind of a watchdog or something, but I guess he doesn't do much good if the store got robbed anyway. I joined Matt Kaiser and Ari and Russell and a couple other guys, Sam and Luke, at the cake table. I had brought 2 of my mice for the war, along with their trading cards, of course. In case you don't know how is life on Planet Squelch, the cards look like baseball cards. On the back is information about the mouse, his warrior character and history, including stats like how many battles won, how many battles lost. Ari and I compared General McDouglas McMouse with General Charles George Gordon Mouse. The real General MacArthur was a hero of the Philippines World War II. General Gordon was the hero of the Battle of Taiping in 1863. I was sure my Gordon Mouse's tactical smarts would crush Ari's McMouse in a fair fight, but Ari said no way. Meanwhile, Billy Jensen showed up with his grandma behind him, and Leo G wagging his tail behind her. Leo G is always friendly, but he seemed crazy for Billy's grandma. He had really slimed her good, but she didn't seem to mind. She even gave him a dog biscuit from her pocket. "How did he know you had that?" Dad asked. "No," Grandma said. "He didn't know. He couldn't have." "Do you have dogs?" my dad asked. Grandma nodded. "I do, and this guy must sense how much I miss them. My daughter-in-law won't let me bring the dogs when we come. She says they make a mess." "You were in last week, weren't you?" Mrs. Miggins asked her. Grandma looked surprised. "Was I?" she said. "Well, your hair was different, and I don't remember the glasses." "But not me," said Grandma. "Never been in this store in my life." Russell's mom clapped her hands to get our attention. Then she said, "Let the war begin." Dad looked at me and mouthed, "See you at 3. With the other kids, I dropped to the floor next to the battlefield. Mrs. Miggins made it herself. She is amazing at art. And it is awesome, with grass and tiny trees, mountains and desert, even wild animals. I think the battlefield is the main reason everybody likes having mouse parties at Mega Menagerie so much. I was on Ari and Matt's side with Russell's little brother Graham. Billy Jensen was on the other team. For once, he didn't have his earphones attached. I wondered if his parents realized it was a mouse party when they RSVP'd. If they didn't like mice, they wouldn't like a mouse war. He was probably lucky his grandma had brought him. We were putting our mice in position when Sophie Sakura showed up. A couple guys groaned. I looked at Russell. He nodded at his mom. "She made me," he whispered. "Everybody in town knows about Sophie. She is bad." That's how Mom says it. Dad's opinion is different. A kid might do bad stuff, but that doesn't make the kid bad. We shouldn't put labels on people, Dad says. I don't know who's right about badness, but Sophie is definitely trouble. She is a year older than me and big. She is not very smart in school, but I hear she always raises her hand because she thinks she knows everything. Usually, girls don't care about mice. Yasmin doesn't. But Sophie loves them. She has more than anybody, except Matt Kaiser. "Come in, Sophie," Russell's mom said. Sophie hung back for about half a second, then charged into the party room. She always moves fast, too fast. On the way to the battlefield, she knocked a chair over and popped a balloon. "Whose side am I on?" she asked. "How about the birthday boys?" said Russell's mom. "No," Sophie said. "I want to be on Matt's side. With all our mice, we'll dominate." "Suit yourself," said Russell's mom. How you play Mouse War is first you set up each mouse on the battlefield. Then you roll the dice and draw tactics cards and mouse cards to see what each number means for each mouse in each place. Players are allowed to use 2 mice at a time. Like in basketball, you can substitute. That's why having a lot of mice, like Sophie and Matt do, is so good. Right now, Hanny Mouse is my favorite. I like his elephant. So I started with him and my own General Gordon mouse. Later, I picked a sitting mouse off the shelf. I was careful not to hurt him because I didn't have enough money to buy him. We were having a great time, and I'm pretty sure my side was winning. We had just overrun the other team's rainforest, and our naval forces were steaming towards their tropical island. Then Sophie had to go and wreck everything. "My Field Marshal Monty Mouse is tougher than old Alexander," she said to Billy. You have to remember now that Billy doesn't have mice of his own, and probably has never played mouse or war before. He was still trying to figure out what was going on, plus he's only a kindergartner. "Huh?" he said. "I said," Sophie began. Russell didn't let her finish. "Alexander the Mouse is too tough," he said. "Show her, Billy. Here, roll the dice. I'll help." "Dice are slow," said Sophie, and before our team could stop her, she drove Monty Mouse's tank right into Alexander, knocking him off his horse, off the battlefield, and onto the carpet. Russell's team couldn't just let Alexander lie there. He had to lead the counterattack. Luke scooped him up and put him back on the horse and galloped him through our team's forces, slaughtering Mouse allies right and left. Now everybody was mad. Matt announced he was going home and started grabbing mice with both hands. Graham said Matt stole one of his mice, and sure enough, Matt hid something behind his back. Sophie climbed over the battlefield trying to get a look behind Matt's back. On the way, she flattened a volcano and slashed a polar ice cap. "Let me see that," she said. "I think it's mine. Most of them are mine." "They are not," said Matt. "You dumb girl." Ari tried to get in front of Matt to protect him, but Sophie was quick. She grabbed Matt's shoulder and yanked on his arm to see what he was holding. "You let go," said Matt. "It's mine." And in the tussle, even though I don't think he meant to, he socked her. "He hit me! He hit me!" Sophie howled. Blood oozed from her nose. By now, Russell's mom might have been feeling just the tiniest amount sorry that she had ever invited Sophie, but she didn't show it. In fact, she did the only thing a mom in her predicament could do. She smiled a big, bright smile and said, "Time for cake." And now we'll read chapter 9. On Monday morning, I lay in bed extra long and thought about how much I love winter vacation. You never have to put shoes on if you don't want. You hardly have to move from the TV room. Nobody bugs you to go outside and get some exercise. Anyone in his right mind knows it's too cold. I stared at the ceiling. What to do first? Movies, video games, TV, popcorn, chips, M&Ms. When I got up, I called Yasmin to see if she wanted to come over and help me celebrate the sofa. "Well, I am terribly busy," she said. "Doing what?" I asked. "Reading the encyclopedia," she said. "I'm up to I. Did you know that the Incas had gold buildings?" "Pretty fascinating," I said, "except I don't happen to be Inca. Come over and we can play Lousy Luigi Brothers. It's educational." "What?" "I'm serious," I said. "It teaches problem-solving skills. It says so on the box." "If it's educational, how come you play it all the time and you are still so ignorant?" she asked. "Next to you, I'm the smartest kid in our grade," I reminded her. "Says who?" "Says everybody. It's a well-known fact," I said. "Without numbers to back it up, it is a mere assertion," Yasmin said, as only Yasmin could. "And what's more, it proves my point. You are too ignorant to know the difference." When Yasmin is your best friend who happens to be a girl, you learn patience. But now she was pushing it. "Look," I said, "I called to invite you, but you don't have to come." "Are you serious?" "I will be right over," she said. "I am bored beyond belief. Jeremiah is making me crazy. He wants me to play chess with him, but he always wins, and he gets peanut butter on the pieces." Jeremiah is only 4, but he is also some kind of genius. Their whole family is like that. Yasmin's dad came to the United States from an island I can never remember. He has this cool English accent that would make him sound smart even if he wasn't as smart as he is. Yasmin's mom grew up really poor. Her ancestors were slaves, which is just so hard to imagine. How could people do that to other people? Mrs. Pop was the first one in her whole history of her family to go to college. She worked really hard to get there, and that's what she expects from Yasmin and Jeremiah too. That's why she's so strict. "Okay, great," I told Yasmin. "See you in a few." We hung up. Dad came in with groceries. I helped him put them away. He had bought Mountain Dew. Yasmin says it's bilious and won't drink it. Good, more for me. The doorbell rang. I answered it. There was a burst of frozen air, then a burst of Yasmin. "Avian alert," she said. "Come on, get your shoes, get your coat." It was warm in the house. No way was I going out. And what did avian mean anyway? "Bird, for goodness sake," Yasmin said. "It means bird from the Latin avis. Any kindergartner knows that. Now come on." I planted my feet. "Bird alert? So what are you saying?" "If you will come outside, you will see," she said. "It's cold," I said. "You're a wimp," she said. "I'm normal," I said. "What is that supposed to mean?" she said. "Yazzie," Dad called from the kitchen. "Is that you?" "Hi, Mr. Parakeet," Yasmin answered. "Your son is a wimp." "Not my son." Dad came in the hallway. "Thanks, Dad," I said. "No problem, Alex. So, Yazzie, what's all with this wimp business?" "According to him, it's too cold to go outside," Yasmin said. Dad looked at me. "Alex, you are such a wimp. It's beautiful out, sunny and bright, and 27 degrees, I said. "You exaggerate," said Dad. "There's been a warming trend. I'll bet it's up to freezing." That would only be 35. That's still pretty cold. Luau does this thing where he scratches the door with his front paws, only he curls in his claws under so that they won't catch. The sound is a bump, 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 like somebody pounding with both fists. Luau was doing this now, wanting to be let out. I could see that I was going to lose this argument. All 3 of them were too much for me. I tried delaying. "What avian alert?" I asked. "Is another bird missing?" Yasmin pursed her lips and shook her head. "What then?" I said. "Go on out and see." Dad practically shoved me. I put my coat on. I tied my shoes slowly. I tried not to look at Yasmin's smug face. I opened the door. Luau slithered past. Outside, on the front porch, shivering and turning blue, I asked again, "Okay, I'm out. Now what's an avian alert?" Yasmin didn't say anything. She just nodded at the Lee's house. I looked over. What the heck? Yasmin was right. Avian alert. And that's where we're going to stop for today. Tune in tomorrow and we'll see what happens.